It's funny how your entire life can end not with a dramatic explosion, but with a piece of plastic the size of a fingernail. I'm staring at a blank wall in my new, depressing studio apartment, and all I can think about is a tiny black micro SD card. My name is Chloe. I was married to a man named Aaron for 6 years. Aaron was an actuary. If you don't know what that is, it basically means he calculated risk for a living. He was obsessed with safety, with preparation, with making sure every variable in our life was controlled. He was a good man, but living with him felt like living in a padded room. There was no risk. There was no thrill. There was just a perfectly balanced spreadsheet of a marriage. I didn't plan on having an affair. No one ever does. You don't wake up one morning and pencil "destroy my marriage" into your calendar. But then I met Marcus. Marcus was a vendor who supplied software to the logistics company where I worked. He was spontaneous, chaotic, and entirely inappropriate. He was the exact opposite of my husband. Because Marcus traveled a lot and Aaron worked from home, we didn't have the luxury of hotel rooms. Instead, we used my car. My SUV became our private island. We would meet in the sprawling, empty parking lots of dead shopping malls or at the far edges of state parks during my lunch break. My car was the one place that was truly mine. It was my bubble. And for 14 months, I kept that bubble completely sealed off from my real life. I became incredibly arrogant. When you get away with lying for that long, you start to think you're a genius. You think you're invincible. I had a whole routine. I kept a specific body spray in the glove box to mask Marcus's cologne. I kept baby wipes in the center console. I would adjust the passenger seat back to the exact notch Aaron liked it before I pulled into our driveway. I was a ghost. I left absolutely zero trace. Aaron, ever the safety freak, had installed a high-end Dashcam in my SUV for my birthday a year prior. It was one of those fancy dual-lens ones that faced out the windshield to record the road and also faced inward to record the cabin in case I was ever carjacked. I hated the thing at first, but after a week I realized you could go into the settings menu on the touchscreen and disable the interior camera. I clicked the little toggle to off. The light went from green to red. I was safe. For 14 months, Marcus and I spent hours in that car, laughing, talking, and doing things I could never look my husband in the eye and admit to. And the whole time, that little camera just stared blankly at the windshield, blind to the betrayal happening right behind it. It happened on a Thursday. It was raining. Marcus and I had met up during my lunch break at the top level of a concrete parking garage downtown. It was an intense, passionate hour. We talked about running away. We talked about how much we hated our lives. We said terrible, honest things about our spouses. When my hour was up, he kissed me, got out, and walked to his own car. I fixed my makeup in the rearview mirror, sprayed my decoy perfume, and drove out of the garage, heading back toward my office. I was sitting at a red light, humming along to the radio, feeling that dangerous, warm glow of a secret well-kept. The light turned green. I took my foot off the brake. Crunch. My head snapped forward as my SUV jolted violently. Someone had rear-ended me. I put the car in park, my heart pounding, and stepped out into the rain. The driver behind me was a teenager, maybe 17, looking absolutely terrified. He'd slid on the wet pavement. The damage wasn't terrible. A cracked bumper, a smashed taillight. We exchanged insurance information on the side of the road. I was annoyed, but I wasn't panicked. It was just a fender-bender. It was a normal, everyday annoyance. I called Aaron on my way home to tell him what happened. "Are you okay? Is your neck hurt?" he asked, his voice instantly dropping into his problem-solving register. "I'm fine, Aaron. It was just a tap. But the bumper is going to need replacing." "Don't worry about it," he said. "I'll handle the insurance claim tonight. Just get home safe." I walked through the front door an hour later. Aaron was already sitting at the kitchen island, his laptop open, insurance forms spread out. "Hey," he said, standing up to kiss my forehead. "Let me go grab the SD card from your Dashcam. The insurance company wants the video of the impact to prove you were fully stopped at the light." "Oh, I said, pouring myself a glass of water. Sure. Good thing you installed that thing, right? Exactly. He smiled. He walked out to the garage. I stood in the kitchen, sipping my water. I wasn't worried. The interior camera was disabled. All the footage was going to show was the rainy windshield and the sudden jolt of the crash. Aaron came back inside a minute later, holding the tiny black square. He plugged it into the adapter, slid it into his laptop, and clicked the video file titled with today's date. Okay, let's see, he muttered, scrubbing through the timeline. Here's you leaving the parking garage. I froze. My hand gripped the edge of the granite counter. The video on the screen showed the rainy street ahead. The interior of the car wasn't visible, but as Aaron hit play, the speakers on his laptop crackled to life. God, I hate going back to him. My voice echoed out of the laptop speakers, crystal clear. I know, baby. A deep male voice replied. Marcus, just a little longer, come here. Then the unmistakable sound of kissing. Heavy breathing, moans, rustling clothes. I felt all the blood drain from my face. My knees turned to water. The interior video was disabled, but I had never checked the audio settings. The microphone had been recording every single word, every single breath, for 14 months. Aaron didn't stop the video. He just sat there, staring at the screen showing the rainy windshield, listening to his wife sleep with another man. The audio played for a full 3 minutes before the sound of the crash finally interrupted it. The silence in the kitchen after the video ended was deafening. It was a heavy, suffocating weight. Aaron, I whispered, taking a step toward him. He slowly reached up and closed the laptop. The click sounded like a gunshot. He didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He just looked at me, and his eyes were completely empty. The man who calculated every risk had missed the biggest one sitting right in his own house. I need you to pack a bag, he said quietly. Please, we can talk about this. It was a mistake. It meant nothing. Pack a bag, Chloe, or I will throw your things onto the lawn. His voice was so cold it sent a shiver down my spine. I packed. I left. There was no couples counseling. There was no screaming match. There was just the surgical, clinical dismantling of a 6-year marriage. He sent the divorce papers a week later. I lost the house. I lost our friends. I lost the safe, comfortable life I hadn't realized I loved until it was gone. Marcus, of course, stopped answering my texts the second he found out I was getting divorced. He wanted a fun secret, not a messy reality. Now, every time I get into my car, I look at that stupid camera on the windshield. The little red light is still on. It recorded the end of my world, and I didn't even know it was listening.